Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. My name is Grace. Today is Monday, March 3rd. I'm about to start work. I have like 4 minutes, so I wanted to briefly touch on the book that I'm currently reading. I am on DNF alert. I have been on DNF alert for this book for a while. It is The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. I loved The Midnight Library when it first came out, and I think it's one of those books that everybody loved when it first came out, and then later on, there was a community of people saying that it was a little bit problematic. And I get why, because it tackled serious subjects and maybe the fantasy element just didn't land with some people, but I really love that book. So with things being the way things have been, I wanted to read a uplifting book, right? So I figured him and this other author, I'm blanking on his name. His name is like, I have one of his books somewhere. Frederick something. I think he's like Swedish, Norwegian or something, but they have very like uplifting, positive books that make you feel good, right? So that's what I went into this book for. I have like an hour left to read. My library hold is actually up, but I think as long as I don't exit the book in the app, I can probably finish it. So what this book is about, you have a elderly woman. Her name is Grace Winters. She was a maths teacher, and her student writes to her and he's telling her like, hey, I ran into the old principal at the school I had with you. He told me your husband recently passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. I heard you moved to Spain. I hope you're having like a great retirement there, yada, yada. And then he tells her that he is going through a lot. His mother has passed away. His girlfriend has left him and he's just not in a good place. And so that's like, it starts off in letters. And then she writes back to him and she's like, you know what? I have been there. I understand what you're going through. I'm about to tell you the story that sounds impossible, but it's like her story and it's her supernatural story. And the book leads into what has happened. And it's kind of like, it goes back to the letter format here and there, but it's reading like a book now. So this woman, Grace Winters, she got scammed out of her retirement money. She fell for something like, she thought it was like a pension representative and she ended up giving away her pension. So she feels really dumb, but her old colleague, Christina, has left her a house in Ibiza. And this colleague, she worked with like in the late 70s, it was like 1979. And she was a music teacher. And so they were like very different. Like that's kind of like hammered in the book that she's a math teacher. So she's not very whimsical at all. And so this music teacher comes around and she seemed very lonely. So she invited her over. It was either Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, something like that. And they spent a great evening together. And Christina, after that, she kind of avoids Grace and Grace thinks it's like, you know what? I think I just saw her in too much of a vulnerable state. That's why she's avoiding me now. But so they didn't connect for like years, decades. And now Christina has like passed and left her house in Ibiza. So Grace goes down to the house and she finds out like the island is very like mysterious, like the locals. You have your wealthy billionaires that come and party, but the locals refer to like a lot of like mystical stuff on the island and they tell her it's not like anywhere else in the world, yada, yada. And so Grace is trying to, her thing is like, she's a math teacher. She wants to understand what happened to Christina. There is the practical side of her that's like, okay, well, this is an inheritance. Let me see what it's about. But she also wants to know exactly what happened to Christina because the circumstances of her death are kind of like all over the place. And she finds the man that Christina would go diving with. And basically there's like an alien presence in the ocean. Hang on. Let me start up my computer because that takes forever. Anyways, so funnily enough, like when I was reading this book, like I was like maybe like 30% of the way in, I went into work one day and my coworker was talking to me about this movie she recently saw. And she was telling me a bunch of other stuff, but she was talking about like aliens in the water. And I was like, dude, I am reading this book about aliens in the water. Basically, there's a supernatural presence in the water that like, it gives people that go to seek it like heightened abilities. They're like telekinetic abilities. They're able to read minds and just have very heightened senses. So we're going through that part of the book, and that's kind of where it was losing me because like she's having these heightened senses about like how simple life could be. And so she's like eating watermelon on the beach and she's just like, you know what, why doesn't everybody just eat watermelon on the beach? Like this is the most sublime feeling, like you feel great, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I need something a little more heavy hitting than that. Like I need to like, for what I was looking for in this book to like feel better, yada yada. But there is an environmentalist movement going on because there are billionaires that are trying to get rid of something like culturally important. It is like a habitat. They're trying to buy it and make it a resort. So our main character is linking up with Christina's daughter to do this activism thing. That's at the part where I'm at. But yeah, as far as like the woo, it's a little bit too woo and it's not making me feel better. I'm trying to think of the book that like actually made me feel like what I'm looking for. Here we go. This is the book, Frederick Backman, Anxious People, where it was just more like about the human experience and like taking it easy and just like seeing the beauty in life. But this one did it well, or maybe I was in the right like mind frame when I read it. But this is what I was looking for, and it's not quite what I'm getting. But yeah, I only have like an hour left of the book, so I feel like I just need to finish it and see how I feel then. But I am going to go ahead and get started at work, and I'll check in later. All right, it is now lunchtime. I am eating my leftovers from Toothsome's Chocolate Emporium. I took Iggy to Universal yesterday, just me and him, and that is where we had lunch. And I feel like their entrees are so big, I eat them for like 3 days. I am starting a new diet today, trying to. So far I've eaten a yogurt and a lemonade apple. I don't know why I always fall for like these fruit hybrids. It was an apple. But anyways, I'm going to read for 30 minutes. I feel like I can probably almost finish this book on my lunch. We'll see. Unfortunately, the book was returned to the library. I must have like exited the app or something by accident, but yeah, so that is gone now. I wonder if my library has a hard copy. I might be able to go get it. The fact that I have just like so little left makes me just want to like finish it, you know what I mean? But I moved on to another book. It is called The Vegetarian. This was one of my library holds that came through. So it's not exactly what I'm in the mood to read, but it was like a huge wait list. I probably requested it months ago. It is by Han King. It's a short book. It won the Nobel Prize in literature. So in this book, you have this man narrating, and he is awful. He's talking about when he first met his wife. She wasn't anything special, but he appreciated that because that meant he didn't have to be anything special. And he goes on about all the ways that she is kind of just not anything to be desired and how that works for him. Just the fact that she's not like super social. He's like, oh, I can just come home and do nothing. Even when we have the same days off, like she reads, I watch TV, and she does basically everything for him, but it's not something that he acknowledges. It's just kind of said in context. So it's not something that he even appreciates. It's just something that he expects. So one day his wife decides that she is a vegetarian, and she has the same personality, very reasonable, very calm, but she's just like, yeah, we're not eating meat anymore. And he flips out, and she's just like, you only eat one meal at the house. You eat lunch and dinner out, so one meal isn't going to kill you. And that freaks him out because he's just like, she's just so reasonable about this, and I don't like it. So he keeps trying to pry why this change came about, and she just says she had this dream, and she described it to him, but he just dismisses it because he is a awful person, and he just keeps putting her down. He's expecting her to iron his shirts and like just do everything where he just exists, even though she has a full-time job. This, I think it takes place in Korea. I'm not sure. I'll look that up later. But yeah, it is a short book, and I am barely started because I just got started on my lunch. It's still a little early, but I'm just gonna go back now. And yeah. Hi guys, it has been a little over 12 hours since my last clip. I feel a lot better. It is so weird to have a headache. Usually I do a hard restart. Like I have to go to sleep and then I wake up and it's gone. But to feel it like lift as you're awake is a very weird feeling. So because I got it in the morning, usually I get my headaches, migraines at night. This time it was right before work, and it was a work from home day, and it's not crazy busy. So I decided I was just going to thug it out. I did tell my boss like, hey, I'm on low power mode, just because if he sees my numbers aren't great, I feel like at least I warned him. You know what I mean? But yeah, so my headache eventually went away and I feel better. And the book that I was planning on reading today was the sequel to Killers of a Certain Age. I already forgot the name of it. I don't know why the name just doesn't stick with me. It's the sequel to Killers of a Certain Age. I love that book and I do not have it. I lent it to my coworker Lauren and we got laid off, so I haven't seen her since. You know what I mean? So yeah, that book is long gone. I should repurchase it, but I was always like, I'll eventually see her, and I just haven't. Um, so I started reading the Emily Henry book, Book Lovers. I am very anti super popular books. I just always feel let down by them every time I fall for it. I don't know that there has ever been a super popular book that I agreed with. Yeah. Even like I was gonna say like Yellowface, but then I feel like that ended up being like a lot of people didn't like it. But yeah, so if it's like a super popular book, I don't think that I typically like it. So that's what kept me away from Emily Henry books. But I remember thinking like I feel like if it's a book kind of like Sophia Kinsella's books, maybe I will like it. Because I think Book Talk, BookTube just took off in romance, and I don't like romance, and maybe that's why I have this negative impression of popular books. But Sophia Kinsella books, you have a main character, and there usually is a love interest in there, but it's not the main. My throat is so dry. It's not like the main story. It has like all these other things, a bunch of other characters, side characters that just make it like a very colorful book. And I was like, okay, if it's a good book, I hope it's like that. Like that's like best case scenario, what I'm imagining an Emily Henry book would be like. So I started this book and I'm only 15% of the way in, but I think it is going to be one of those. So you have your main character, Nora, and like I was hooked immediately. So she's talking about tropes, movie tropes, book tropes, and like giving a few examples. And she's like, and of course, the most famous one, the one where the big city slicker goes to a small town and finds like a Christmas tree farm to work at to save from big corporations or whatever, and falls in love with a small town girl and like gives up his city ways, right? And she's just like, you may be wondering who I am. I am the city girlfriend that gets left behind. The one that always says, like, you want to, where my boyfriend says, do you want to go on a hike when he comes back? I go in Manolos. And he sighs and says, I knew you wouldn't get it or whatever. Basically, like, just this guy becomes transformed by small city life and leaves her behind. So she's like on her third of these breakups. And even her sister's just like, you have a real knack for these guys that end up loving small town life. Right? It's just like a little joke. It's told way better in the book. So she's getting broken up with, and it's not so much that she was in love with this guy. It's just, the end of a relationship. So she's 5 minutes late to this meeting with a book editor. She is a book agent, and I think he's an editor. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but they're both in the publishing world. And he seems annoyed that she's late. He's looking at his watch, and that sets her off. So they start having this very like tense conversation, but it's really funny. Usually when I see people talking about dialogue, I don't think it's that great. Like when I've been led astray by people saying a book has good dialogue. This one was good. And I think it's because both characters were just cynical and dark and just like really funny. So that conversation was held and it was good. And then they just left, like you already know, like right off the bat that this is going to be the couple. So then we go back to Nora's full life, like, outside of this little interaction. And her sister is pregnant with her third child. And, they have not been as close as they used to be because, she's now a mom. She has 3 little kids. Nora has her publishing career, but she tries to like pitch in where she can, but they have just been missing each other. Like their schedules do not line up. So finally her little sister Libby says, why don't we have a girls' day away from the city where it's just you and me for a month. And she picks this location called Sunshine Springs, which is when we had this meeting, like in the beginning of the book, Nora was trying to pitch one of her favorite authors, Dusty something, to this guy. And the guy was like, yeah, I didn't like this book. I loved this other book that she wrote, but I don't see potential in this book. So this is the book that we are now talking about where Libby is like, oh, this book takes place in the small town. Let's go stay there for a month. And maybe you can have your small town romance. And she's just like, basically, she just wanted to get away and this will just be a fun distraction. So it's not like serious, like, let's get you a small town romance. It's just kind of like a fun added bonus for them to do. So they go to this town and this town is not as they pictured it. Libby doesn't know yet in the part where I'm at because she got there and she had a knockout. She was just she's pregnant, tired. So Libby goes and explores and she sees that this town is cute. It is a small town, but it's not as like magical as it is in the book. Like the general store is described as having freshly baked bread, and it's like it seems rustic, like you would see in a Lifetime movie. When Nora goes into, she sees the general store, she sees that this is the store. She can see like the concept of it, but it's like a grimy, old fashioned store that has like regular bread, like nothing fresh about it, not as cute. So everything is just like a little bit less in the books. And she's just like, Libby is going to be so disillusioned by this, right? Hold on. Anyways, so then Nora goes to a coffee shop and she runs into this guy that looks really hot. And she's like, maybe my exes were onto something. Like, I've never seen this guy this hot in the city. And they have like this little interaction that's like, just very brief. But then she notices this other guy that is attractive in a mortal way. She said the first guy was like god level hot. This guy is just mortal level hot. And then she's just like, is that Charlie? Which is like the editor that she had that first meeting with. And she starts texting him just to see if he looks down at his phone, like emailing him. And that part was really funny. And she finds out, yes, that is him, but he has not spotted her. But their interactions are just really, really funny. And they find out that they were both, like, that first meeting, they were both in different worlds and they both got the wrong interpretation of it. So I don't know what exactly Charlie thought of her, but him looking at his watch, which she interpreted as he thinks I'm late and I'm like he's already in a bad mood because of that, he was just trying to see if he could check a flight. So it's just like they got off on the wrong foot, and that's kind of cleared away now. But yeah, I'm at the 15% mark. It's like almost 8 o'clock. Probably gonna read for like 30 more minutes before I put Iggy to bed, and maybe I'll go to the living room and read a little bit more. I'm just like never in the living room, so it's always like a treat to be in there. And yeah, I feel happy about this book. I feel like it's just gonna make me content. All right, it is now Friday, so it is a few days later. I think it was Tuesday night that I ended up staying up till midnight to read Book Lovers. Like, I was just enjoying it so much, I wanted to finish it. And like at 10 o'clock, I was like, I should go to sleep. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I was just so into it. I wanted to finish it. I'm definitely an Emily Henry fan. I didn't think I would be. I just want to check out the rest of her books. I remember seeing other people, like, I want to see my favorite YouTubers. I want to rewatch those videos and see what they enjoyed about it. But anyways, yeah. So what I loved about the book, I loved that the main characters were very cynical. Like, it was a cute love story if you don't like sappy love stories. I loved the sister relationship because our main character Nora has gone on this like staycation in a different town with her sister Libby. And her sister Libby was just trying to make all these things work, but they have like that dark humor together. And we find out more about their relationship. From the beginning, you know that their mother passed away. And while Nora has a lot of fond memories of their mother, and she was like, oh, we were like three sisters, and saying, like, every day was like the first day in New York for my mom. She loved everything about it. And we hear all these great memories from Nora's perspective. We stay in Nora's perspective the whole time, but at one point, Libby says something about their mom, kind of like she wasn't that great. Like, she loved her mom, but she was like, she put you in a very bad position, meaning Nora, because she was like, you were the older sister, but she treated you like you were her partner. Like, she expected you to help with me, with the house, and all these things. I can't imagine putting that kind of pressure on my own kids. Which, like, Nora was just completely shocked because she never saw it that way. Yeah, it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. So like I said, it is Friday evening right now, and I just want to wrap up this book. I did eventually get my other book. Let me go grab it. This was a pre-order, but it was a day late. It is Kills Well with Others. It's a sequel, and this is going to be my next book that I start over the weekend. But yeah, that is it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.